A very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Ansarkari. So, starting for the day. So, firstly, you can see that defacement of the public property by putting up hoardings for the DU Student Union polls or be it for the Delhi District Cricket Association elections amounts to grave violation by the contesting candidates. As you can see in the picture, also, that have been just completely covered the entire divider or whatever space they are getting to put it up. So it is grave violation of the law before being elected as a people's representative. So question arises that whether you are a responsible citizen or not who can serve due justice to the respective position for which you are contesting the elections. And even few days back, we saw an illegal hoarding which killed a few people in Mumbai. So again, it's a threat to life, threat to the environment, and again, somewhere threat to the future, as today's youth will be the leader of the future. And simultaneously, the responsibility of the local bodies, here in case of like the urban local body in Delhi, is also crucial. So the police data also reveals 106% increase in the cases registered for the defacement of the public property in 2023. So penalty has been imposed. These hoardings needs to be removed, and not just during the elections also, be it even for the like coaching institutes as well. If you go in the market areas, you see like hoardings are put up anywhere. So this needs to be taken up as a serious matter at the local level. Now, an advertisement regarding ecotourism from Uttar Pradesh. You can see Uttar Pradesh Eco Paryatan Vikas Board and उठ चली सवारी करने दुधवा में wildlife safari. So here it is again introducing air travel for wildlife safari. Now this brings us to the thought that promotion of air travel will really make it sustainable. What about the greenhouse gases emissions from it? What about the sound pollution? What about the air pollution? Will it not disturb the wildlife, the biodiversity of the region? So these are the negative externalities associated with, and on top of it, the affordability. It would be costing you rupees 5,000. So is it going to be affordable for all the people to a common citizen? And it is again a luxurious step, we can say, but not a necessity. Apart from this, positive aspects includes digitization for the booking. You can use this QR code to go ahead with booking. It somewhere enhances the ease of travel and revenue generation for the state. A race for minerals. So minerals are naturally occurring inorganic substances with a definite chemical composition and a crystalline structure. Minerals have proved to be crucial in economic history, our survival, and everything which is around us again is somewhere composed of mineral, be it like construction, the technology, or energies. Like we have coal or petroleum, which are the key energy resources important for energy security, and like limestone, which is used in the cement production. So these are strategic resources because of their core function in like green energy transition, energy security. Like we have the list of 30 critical minerals, which includes lithium, cobalt, nickel. Minerals are important for Industrial Revolution 4.0 and food security. So they are associated with geopolitics and trade also somewhere, trade wars also, like China's monopoly in processing 68% of nickel, 40% of the copper, 59% of lithium, and 73% of cobalt. So the monopolizing tendencies are misused in geopolitics. In a way, we can say this is showcasing the cartelization power with China. And regarding again mining and its aspects related to sustainability. So, as we say, diamonds are forever, but animals aren't. Examples, we have three examples here. Like Madagascar is the only home to wild lemurs, but the mining for sapphires, it has led to 90% loss of their habitat already. Another we have from Chile's Atacama Desert, where again it is again we get huge lithium deposits there, and this is destroying the habitat for the pink flamingos. Third, we have the Amazon's fantastic butterflies are found there. So gold mining is causing mercury poisoning there and leads to biomagnification, mercury damaging the health of these organisms. So gold rush is causing large deforestation, leaving the butterflies that even survive mercury with no home as well. So this is again interesting thing that few butterfly species can even survive the mercury or the exposure to it. So F1 racing, no, it is popularly known for its commercial aspects or again as a captivating sport amongst the youth and the upper class specifically. But we see that it has also benefited the common man through innovations in the development and design of the passenger cars. For example, introduction of spoilers or the usage of carbon fiber in designing the body of the vehicles or even paddle shifters. At the same time, here we are also seeing that the importance of aerodynamics in the vehicle economy. So, the more aerodynamic a car is, the less drag or air resistance we see, and that's how it helps in enhancing the performance and the fuel economy of the car. And somewhere, this designing aspects or aerodynamics is also seen in the civil aviation sector or how the body of the planes is designed. Then, what is gravitational lensing? So it is again the lensing effect is from the faraway galaxies where the light gets stretched and it gets effectively amplified. So gravitational lensing helps us to see the distant galaxies with its magnifying effect. In this case, we see that with the use of James Webb Space Telescope, we've been able to again spot a distant galaxy named Firefly Sparkle because of the gravitational lensing effect. First ice-free day in Arctic could occur before 2030. So as per the data, in the last 40 years, Arctic Sea has been melting at the rate of 12.6% each decade, which is a pace of, again, a decline which is unmatched in at least the last 1500 years. And also, according to the World Meteorological Organization, the global average surface concentration of the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen oxide that has also reached new highs. So, what can be the possible implications? First, it will self-sustain the global warming further through the albedo effect because in the glacier regions we see albedo effect is it's very high because of again the ice cover and the lighter colors like white colors has high albedo effect, so it can trigger extreme weather events in the mid latitudes also. Second is the calamitous sea level rise, which can happen. And in the past 10 years, we see global sea level has been rising 1.5 times faster compared to 1990s. Third possible implication of again the ice-free day in the Arctic can be unprecedented challenges to the biodiversity loss, which are dependent upon the ice cover. So here also World Wildlife Fund states loss of permafrost poses increased risk of extinction to polar bears, walruses, Arctic fox, snowy owls, and reindeers. So US releases national strategy to combat Islamophobia with 100 steps to curb hate. One question that arises is 100 steps. Is it realistic? Will it be implemented effectively? And this is to curb hate, violence, bias, discrimination against Muslims and Arab Americans or American Muslims. The question arises, why only again the people of American descent? Why not like a person who's simply a Muslim person from again any Asian country? So why again it is being only thought from the perspective of Arab Americans or American Muslims? So the strategy involves four basic priorities. One is increasing the awareness. Second is broadly improving the safety and security. Third is accommodating the Muslim and the Arab religious practices. And fourth is cross community solidarity. And with all this, the shift in the behavioral aspect of the US citizens is also associated with increased instances of racial discrimination also. Now, going forward with India-US relations, which are characterized by strategic partnership in defense sector, shared democratic values, and regional stability and peace. So here we see that US has acknowledged India's leadership in the region, and India has been labeled as a net security provider, which was done in 2009. And this continues. Second, we see the China's increasing aggressiveness or assertiveness. India and US, they've strengthened their engagements, cooperation in South Asia and the Indo-Pacific region through the strategy of promoting free and open Indo-Pacific, establishing international rules-based order and promotion of multilateralism. And now, given the like expectations of the new Trump regime, so Mr. Trump has continued to hint at burden sharing, reciprocity is the keyword, nationalism, and competing against China in his foreign policy. Amongst this, the recent challenges also includes the threat of sanctions, possibly for India, also in the context of Russia-Ukraine war and our reliance upon Russia for the defense aspect, or even for the crude oil. And second is again the threat recently for 100% imposition of tariff if de-dollarization is prioritized through different means, like this was in context of BRICS, proposing BRICS currency. So opportunities for India includes increasing trade and investments given the trade war with China. So this is offering us a window to further strengthen our ties. And as our Minister of External Affairs also stated, that India-US relations will be based on give and take. So that will be determining the future further. So here we have different examples or the case studies related to regional wars or where the transition to democracy has not been so smooth. There have been disruptions, there have been civil wars, and somewhere again in between during this transition journey, rise or return of authoritarianism back. So be it the Syria's Bashar al-Assad regime, and then we talk about Arab Spring, which started from Tunisia. We see that in Egypt, pro-democracy protesters led to the ouster of autocrat Hosni Mubarak. In Pakistan and Philippines, again, Pakistan has seen at least four martial law periods imposed by Pakistani army under different generals like Ayub Khan, and Ziaul Haq or Parvez Musharraf. Then in Philippines also legacy of martial law period under the Ferdinand Marcos. So from 1972 to 86, in case of Iraq and Iran, Saddam Hussein-led regime, then Sudan chaos, South American mixed bag, and again Peru's Fujimori, and recently also in South Korea, we again see somewhere coming back of the martial law, the impeachment of the incumbent government. So the situation still continues, which has again led to uh, great disruptions in geopolitics, in trade, in peace and stability, in violation of human rights. Now, here again, the repeat of the threat of again was a bomb hoax to the 30 schools in Delhi. So this has become again a repeated offense where we can see that a minor boy can send an email, that too with a masked virtual private network, which was showcasing locations across different countries like US, Canada, Sweden, and Netherlands. So it raises questions about the safety of the digital system that we have. Is it so easy that a minor boy can send a box emails to different schools across Delhi? And here even like this leads to disruption of the school cycle, or the education leads to wastage of resources also, because everything comes to a halt. So again, the post facto measures which are taken up includes the bomb detection teams are sent, bomb disposal squads are sent, then the role of police is there, then IED, all of that testing, and then the things come back to normalization. But this becoming a repeated offense raises the questions not just in schools, but in colleges, hospitals, and off late we have seen in airport also in Delhi. So police states that standard operating procedure is followed by the police, by the fire services, and the bomb teams. But each and every call is looked into utmost seriousness also, as per the special CP of the crime branch in uh, Delhi. But the question rises, we need more integration with like institutions like IC4 or certain when it comes to the emails aspect, because most of them are through emails only. So, implementation of one nation, one election, or simultaneous elections. We saw that the recommendations of high level committee, which was chaired by the former President Ramnath Kovind, was presented. Here, one loophole which is there is that the committee was not given the freedom to study the pros and cons of simultaneous elections, but it was constituted to suggest the legislative and the administrative measures required to implement it. It was directly jumping on to the implementation aspect, that it's a given we are going to go ahead with this idea. So the debate and discussion around whether we should go ahead with the idea or not is missing. So there are different concerns being raised in this article, which needs attentions on the basis of the recommendations of this committee itself. So one concern is that states they may lose the flexibility to dissolve the assemblies or hold the elections based on their political needs. So will it hamper the federal setup of the Indian democracy is the question. One recommendation was that there needs to be a new article which needs to be inserted, like Article 82A, where it would be ensuring that the measure simultaneous elections is effectively implemented. Another is that committee made it clear that simultaneous elections refers to only the general elections to the Lok Sabha and to the state assemblies, but it is not covering the elections at panchayats or even the municipalities in the urban local bodies. So will it be again in true sense a simultaneous elections? And another area of concern highlighted is that states that were like as we talk about this as a challenge also, what about if the particular state assembly is not able to complete its entire 5-year term? So here as a solution, the committee has recommended that there would be again re-elections for the remaining time period. Now again, it raises the question whether it is true sense a simultaneous election or not, and also, will it not lead to wastage of resources that the re-elections would only for the remaining time period? And then again, when that entire 5-year cycle gets completed, or when that date is there, where elections would be happening at the state level also, or at the union level also, will have again the elections. So extreme, do we have, or do we have so much of capability and capacity to have the elections? And one positive feature which this report or the recommendations included was having a single electoral roll, and it that can be done through the amendment to Article 325. So it recognizes that voters of all the three tiers of the elections, they are the same. So now, since at the local level it was the responsibility of the State Election Commission to take up this task for the local body elections, that wouldn't be required. And the questions regarding again the capacity, do we have so many numbers of EVMs, VVPATs? Then has the Indian like climate aspect been factored in or not? Number of polling personals that would be required, security forces, election materials. So the idea needs to be again referred back to the Joint Parliamentary Committee to make again a more detailed, go ahead with more detailed discussions and the deliberations regarding the subject. So Switzerland suspends most favored nation status to India in the tax avoidance agreement. The reason is due to lack of reciprocity in the double taxation avoidance agreement on the part of India. That is why this measure has been taken up by Switzerland. Now, possible repercussions of this could be, firstly, it can hamper the investment interest and the plans which were there, for example, under the European Free Trade Association, which includes countries like Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. So we have signed a free trade agreement with EFTA, and there was a commitment made for investment worth $100 billion over the next 15 years in India. So that could get hampered because since this measure has been taken up by Switzerland. So more tax rate would be implied on, for example, the dividends. The withholding tax or the capital gains tax would increase because of this, and majorly investments are associated the sectors like technology or the life sciences. So hampering not just the investments but the multiplier effects that we have of employment creation or again the infrastructural development associated with those investments. So it showcases or points us towards the necessity of aligning with our treaty partners on the interpretation of the laws and application the tax treaty clauses to ensure that there is predictability, equity, stability, and more certainty in the international tax frameworks. And in India, like on this decision or on this issue also, Supreme Court has also last year itself determined that the double taxation avoidance agreement cannot be enforced unless it is notified under the Income Tax Act. So that needs to be done to again ensure it is implemented. So the challenges related to economic development recently that has come to the picture as recognized by FICCI is the lower middle and middle classes people facing consumption challenge because of declining disposable income, leading to reduction in the purchasing power capacity because of increasing inflation, and that too we can say sticky food inflation. And then lower salaries, because here also we have recently seen a trend that the profits of the companies or businesses have increased, but that is not materialized in the form or that is not transmitted or transformed in the form of increase in the real wages of the people. So the gap has widened further. And in terms of like when you talk about the overall aggregate demand in the economy, there are four factors, out of which consumption demand constitutes 60% of India's GDP growth. So here we see another challenge in the form of trend emerging in the urban areas, that consumption demand as far as the FMCG sector is concerned has been reducing, whereas the rural sector has been performing better. Second is the government investment that we are focusing already through the capital expenditure on the part of the fiscal policy. And third aspect is related to the private sector and the investments related to private sector. So here certain positives like we have Make in India program. We are focusing upon increasing the capacity utilization of the manufacturing sector. We are emphasizing upon making MSMEs more competitive. So investments are also aligned in that direction. So it might attract more of FDI here, which is a positive spot. And in terms of research and development, we see that private sector would be further inclined or aligned with this, as again here we have the government ventures related to like recently constituted Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Also we talk about that the GDP allocation needs to further increased as far as R&D is concerned, because right now it is at meager 0.8% only. Promotion of again more like the research and development culture also. So in this regard, recently again announced One Nation, One Subscription scheme as well. So that's there. And the fourth component related to aggregate demand is the net exports. So here the competitiveness of exports is coming under pressure because of depreciating rupee. So it is related to the fiscal deficit, the exchange rate stability, and the current account deficit. The challenges related to the global supply chain and the strain that it has been facing because of the threats related to natural factors, rising geopolitical factors, and entire instability in the setup, which has been functioning, or it was again disrupted during even the COVID-19 time period, also during 2020s. Now, another challenge in the form of geopolitics is that one we have already talked in the context of the monopoly that China has in terms of the mineral resources, that too the critical mineral resources. Second is the container business, as far as when talking about the trade. So the capacity of the container business is hugely cartelized with China. So it is arbitrarily, it is being misused by it. There are oligopolies which are functioning like oligopolies is only very few players exist in the market. So again, they have more of monopolizing tendencies in terms of their decision making. And another challenge is related to the natural disasters and other jolts, for example, even the threat to the choke points which exist. And in this context, like few time back, we saw that in the Panama Canal or the Red Sea region, which constitutes 40% of the global trade, there was uh, like attacks related to again the drone attacks being done there. So a ship broke down there in the Suez Canal, and the global trade was disrupted. Longer sea routes via the Cape of Good Hope had to be taken up, which increased the time, which increased the cost. And also the civil war which is going on in Yemen is also another threat to the safety of the trade aspect. So risk has been multiplied further, like tariff wars or changing alliances and the trade pacts. And in this context, what are the solutions or the options available to de-risk the specifically the trade growth here, as we were talking previously about the aggregate demand also, which has been proposed by Keynesian economists. So in this regard, one is scattering the business or diversifying your bases across different countries. So in case of India also, like the taking leverage of China plus one strategy or multilateralism is the focus, and having more of free trade agreements, then we see that greater localization or a new term that is nearshoring and reshoring, which is related to re-globalization. Again, diversifying your trade partners. So so as to ensure that there is again it has the potential to stabilize just in time, or the closer the proximity it is, so there would be lesser the risk. Another change that we are seeing is the strengthening of the regional supply networks across the Southeast and the South Asia. So role of ASEAN, role of BIMSTEC becomes more crucial. In case of Europe also, you see more countries relying on factories in Eastern Europe or in Turkey and Africa also. So US also depending upon much closer manufacturers which are in Mexico. Now, ultimately, all of the change that has been happening or the challenges which are emerging, the major exploitation is being seen on the part of the workers and the laborers. So, in context of India, we have again the four labor codes that needs to be effectively implemented. Recently, the rules have been constituted for the same. That the part of again the DPSP and even on the part of the fundamental duty aspect also needs to be a priority in the free trade agreements that we are signing. And also, the current setup is more inclined to favor the big box retailers like Walmart or e commerce giants, which are there, or the big tech companies, which are there. Like in case of quick commerce, also, we are seeing it is hampering the Kirana stores or the mom and pop shops. 2 lakhs have been shut down in this year. So, again, taking the bottom up approach, making or taking the measures which are sustainable, which are equitable for all, which are more certain, is crucial. The recently Railways Amendment Bill was introduced. So what are the possible changes and further the implications and the challenges associated with this. So here in this context, the provisions of the laws we are seeing are more related to centralization of the power. That is a concern that the amendment says that the central government may invest in the railway board either absolutely or subject to any conditions. And also, it is focusing upon enhancing the functioning of the railway board. So, it is not a new creation, but just a change which seeks to repeal the Indian Railways Board Act 1905 and incorporate that within the provisions of the Railways Act of 1989. But what about the other areas which includes attention like the railway safety, independence and the autonomy of the regulator, whatever the vacancies and decentralization of power at the zonal and division level. Also, modernization the railways, simplifying and strengthening of the Indian railways is another thing. So earlier there were reports also by the like previous joint parliamentary committees who had recommended that the Railway Board Act needs to be repealed and there needs to be incorporation of all the provisions within the Railway Board Act, which were again rejected at that point of time. And what about again the social equity aspect or the social justice aspect when it comes to even the filling the vacancies, or how we are going to cater to the interest in the welfare of the backward section, the vulnerable section of societies like SC, STs, OBCs, and women going ahead, whether be it accommodation or their safety and security. And also, is it focusing upon the safety aspect in terms of the we have seen of late increasing instances related to railway disasters. Now, that's like kind of a new dimension which is not so emphasized or focused upon, but again requires our attention from the perspective of safety or overall when we're talking about development, we're talking about FDI investments to the tune of billions of dollars. But what about this aspect where we see WHO states 30 people have drowned per hour in 2021. In case of again the overall deaths in 1 year, it is 3 lakh people have died because of drowning. And 92% of such instances have happened in the middle income, the low income countries, where India accounts for 28% of the global burden, where in case of India, 83,000 deaths were witnessed. Majorly, we see it is the children who are at the major risk, the young people under the age of 5. They've accounted for the largest share of 24%, and for the 19% of deaths amongst the children under 5 to in the category of 5 to 14. So here, drowning can be because of the natural disasters, urban flooding, or because of again the water transport. So it is related to tourism also, sustainable and safe tourism, the role of coastal authorities, role of again implementation of CRZ norms, and then what measures can be focused upon, like here WHO states evidence based approach needs to be taken. Is it again a strategy, or is it again a part of the strategy of the disaster management? Uh, do we have the SDMA personnel trained for this, or the NDMA personnel trained for it, or even the Coast Guard which is there? So here, 33% of the countries like they offer national programs to train the bystanders in the safe rescue and resuscitation measures that can be taken up. Then we need to integrate the swimming also and water safety training. Mock drills should be there at again the school level also. So it should be part of the curriculum also and part of training also, because children constitute a major chunk here who've been seeing dying because of drowning. So, algo trading, what is algo trading? It's a method of executing the orders by providing a predefined set of rules to computer program. Like you can already feed in your orders the quantity of, for example, shares that you want to buy, at what prices you want to buy, and at what time you want the order to get executed. So everything can be feeded in before and it will be automatically executed depending upon those details. So it offers you higher speed, it saves times, it is more like more frequency is there. So it is already under functioning, but that is majorly being used by the large institutional investors, and they have been using it to purchase large quantity of stocks without influencing the price of the stock. That's the advantage. Now SEBI is talking about taking this forward for the retail investors also, with proper checks and balances, and being a part of, again, SEBI's direct market access facility. It's a part of it. So here equally is the important role of the role and responsibilities of the stockbrokers, as far as, again, more awareness regarding this is concerned, how it can be executed. Also role of stock exchanges and the algo providers, ensuring the system remains transparent. There is no scope of any glitch in this, because trade or the profits and losses depends upon every second of a fraction of second also, I should say. And market infrastructure institutions and investors also have the role. And of late also, as we are seeing how the fin influencers, their number has been increasing. So how they would be, again, taking it forward, how responsibly they would be educating people, not misguiding them. So it can be of two types. One would be replicable, and another would be non-replicable algos, which will be called white box and black box algos respectively. So the major aspect is the awareness generation amongst the retail investors about its usage and the risks associated with it. So MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics Program Implementation, prepares 5-year roadmap with focus on artificial intelligence. So we see usage of artificial intelligence would be helpful in aligning to our administrative statistics. It will speeden up the process. It will help us in, again, data analytics using, again, machine learning or large language models, increase the frequency of the data can be updated in shorter time frame. So integration and coordination with the state statistical departments would be needed. And in terms of, again, the large data which is there, so that can be analyzed and assessed in shorter time frame. Other areas like MOSPI is working upon revision of the GDP base year to 2022 and 23. Currently we are still using 2011-12 as a base year, so that's needed to upgrade our GDP figures to know about the recently changed trends, because so much is happening in shorter time frame. And then GDP estimates for the new base year will be released in Feb 2026, again because of the usage of technology and artificial intelligence. So it might also use the GST data for GDP computation at the same time. So updated and accurate data is crucial for, again, formulation of policies. What measures, safety measures, precautionary measures can be taken up. We can know the direction or what are the challenges that we are facing or might emerge in future. India's 50,000 crore submarine plant stalls after the sea test because of the complaints related to the proper procedures, whether they were followed during the test at sea. So this has delayed the Navy's efforts to bolster our capabilities, as we are seeing the threat from China and its expanding presence in the Indian Ocean. So India has plans to build 6 conventional diesel electric submarines, which would be now delayed. Important players includes the ThyssenKrupp Marine Group is there, then Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders, L&T is there, and Avantia. They're all competing for the projects. So upgradation of the military, the modernization is also associated with it, with India being, again, one of the largest weapons importer in the world. So we are, again, focusing upon self-reliance, indigenization in defense sector at the same time. And simultaneously, challenges that early next decade will be seeing decommissioning of the older Indian vessels that would also gather pace. So the timeline compliance of this project becomes more crucial. And of late, like nuclear powered submarines also, when we're talking about, so we have INS Arihant and INS Arikat have been recently commissioned. So domestic capabilities with the changing geopolitical factors and risks, and de-risking our growth, and for the development and safety of, again, for example, even respecting the exclusive economic zone rights, or the future missions related to deep sea ocean mining. All of these are interrelated with the blue economy, with India being the net security provider, with the vision of Sagar security and growth for all. So that's all for the day. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for further detailed discussions and sessions.